For those that don't know, a New World Open Beta has been announced that'll be running from the 9th to 12th, and with it we'll be getting patch notes to see what AGS has changed in response to data collected during the closed beta, and perhaps get an idea of what they'll be adding in the future. So here's what I expect, or would like to see, get changed between the closed and open beta. It's fair to point out that AGS had about a month to make these changes, so I'm going to try to keep things focused on what I feel could be accomplished in such a short amount of time. It's also been made clear that there aren't going to be any huge content dumps or sweeping changes, just improvements and tweaks going forward towards launch. However, there are plenty of things that can be improved upon between then and now that I feel are necessary for the future of the game. Some of the things that I plan to talk about in this video were also touched on in my closed beta review, so they may sound familiar. If you've not seen that yet, I will do a little pop-up so you can go check that out now. They've made a big point about wanting the open beta to really stress test their servers, and this being a beta open to everyone, I'm sure AGS will get the data that they need. I'm hoping that we'll already get to see some improvements made to performance and hit registration in large scale, because server degradation was especially noticeable while trying to hit targets while moving with ranged weapons or weapons that require fast reactions. On several instances, I felt full second input delays, which made weapons like Rapier nigh impossible to play. So I'm really hoping that we'll see improvements to performance so more weapons can be used effectively in large scale. Similarly, I would love to hear about optimization improvements to the game because a higher and more consistent frame rate is always better. This may already be confirmed to some extent through a Reddit post I saw a few days ago. I couldn't find it again to confirm completely, so take this with a grain of salt, but the recommended specs for the game have been changed to a lower-end CPU, which would suggest to me that performance improvements are being made already. I'm sure that with a game-ready driver this will get even better, so I'm excited to see how much better it can get. Just roaming around the world looked and felt great with a stable FPS above 60. Even moving into towns felt pretty smooth for me despite running the game on a mechanical hard drive during closed beta. In large scale, however, my system got hit pretty hard, ranging from around 30 to 40 FPS when things got really chaotic, which was a lot of the time. I would love to see a stable 60, but of course these things take time. Optimizing a game is not easy, and of course with Lumberyard being such a new thing, I'm sure this will take more than a month to iron out, I would assume. What's important to me is not that it's completely fixed, but that it is being improved upon. Like I said, this takes time, and I look forward to see what the patch notes will tell us regarding this performance improvement. We will of course see hundreds of bugs get fixed between the closed and open beta, and I'm sure that the patch notes will reflect that. The biggest bug fix for me, of course, will be the Great Axe bug that caused it to do double or even triple damage. And of course, I'd like to see subsequent nerfs to the weapon. Towards the end of closed beta, it was getting really frustrating to have everybody that I run into that was flagged up just pull out a Great Axe and face roll at me. I touched on this in more detail in my closed beta review, but it was the best weapon in closed beta, hands down. It excels at everything and desperately needs a nerf, or it will be the only weapon people use. It will be everywhere. Some tweaking to the Berserker tree for Hatchet and Defy Death would be nice. Hatchet overall felt pretty well balanced, but you only really pick it for the Berserk skill. I would love to see the Berserk skill itself get tweaked and have some of the other skills get buffed or changed a bit, so that way they're more attractive. Because Hatchet was really fun. I love the aesthetic. It was a great time. I just wish that the only reason that people pick it wasn't just one skill. I would like it to be a more well-rounded weapon. Bow is probably my favorite weapon that I tested in closed beta, but I also think that it could really use some love regarding how targeting works. For musket, the bullet goes right where you point. However, for bow, it feels like the arrows go slightly off-center, which feels really awkward. Bow's design seems to be more of a mid-range weapon that is meant to be better in close quarters compared to musket, which feels a lot better at range because it's hit scan. However, targeting for bow feeling off not only goes against this design, but adds unnecessary difficulty to a weapon that is already hard to use. Additionally, Rain of Arrows takes a long time to cast, while also not allowing the player to evade. Some quality of life by either speeding up the animation or allowing easier movement would make this skill a lot more viable in large scale. I think a lot of its other abilities are in a pretty good spot. I just want my shots to go where I am. I would love to see an improvement to the collision for Rapier's evade skill, because in practice it's really cool. You're meant to use it to dart around someone and crit them with back attacks and remain mobile. However, in its current iteration, you just kind of collide with people and can't really get past them, making the ability unable to perform what I feel its main function is. This doesn't always happen, but like this inconsistency honestly kind of makes it worse, because sometimes it does work and you're like, yeah, cool, this is awesome, and other times it just kind of breaks. So this may just be a personal issue that I had, but I had a lot of situations where I would go for thrusts with Rapier, that felt like they should hit, but they just didn't. Like, the range of Rapier itself just feels kind of weird. Maybe I just haven't played it enough. That's entirely possible. But would maybe like it to get looked at. I really hope to see them implement some sort of diminishing returns or restriction on several life staffs healing the same person, because it really hurts large-scale interactions. We could also see Void Gauntlet be introduced as a means to counter healing, but this is not sustainable, using one item to balance another, so I really hope they don't go with this route. Would also like to see a bit of a rework for how Constitution builds are handled with player scaling. So for those that don't know, in New World, when you fight another player, and there's a big level disparity, many of the stats are rebalanced, so that a level 60, for example, could fight a level 30. This on paper sounds really cool, and I like that aspect of the game, that PvP is not gated behind, oh, well, I have to be level 60 and have all the best gear. It isn't. However, Constitution does not scale. You may be asking, what do you mean? Well, let's say a level 30 with a full con build is fighting a level 60 with a full dex build, right? The level 60 has their damage reduced and their gear score brought down to meet the level 30, so that they can fight each other. However, the con build player, because health is not affected by scaling, ends up having more HP than the dex player, while they both do a similar amount of damage. As you can imagine, this is a little weird, and often results in the con player, at the level of this level 60, wins the majority of the time. This is an issue. So see, like, it's hard to balance, right? Because like you want people to be able to fight each other. Like this scaling is healthy for the game. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's a little annoying if someone is literally being punished for being higher level in that situation. We've already seen a lot of tweaking for town board quests that have already been done during the closed beta, and I'm interested to see if this will end up getting changed anymore through the patch notes or just through playing the open beta. I really hope that they don't over-nerf it. I'm honestly concerned about that, because it's one of my favorite things about the game, in that you can level up and progress however you want to. You can gather, you can explore, you can kill stuff, and all of that is rewarding. It's worthwhile. Not only does it progress yourself, but it progresses your faction or the town that you're in. And of course, these quests need to be attractive, because if people don't want to do them, if they're not worth it, then towns won't get upgraded, which completely kills a massive aspect of the game. I really hope that they don't overcompensate with this. I want them to still be good. I'm hoping we see some adjustments to the speed of leveling skinning in higher level areas. It really seems to spike exponentially, unlike the other life skills. You'd go from a pretty average XP rate to, in high level areas, going up a full level every time you skin the bison. I mentioned in my closed beta review that this may have just been increased artificially, as they wanted to test higher end gathering, but I think the game would really benefit from this being more linear on launch. Would also like to see some simplification for quests that have multiple parts in one area. I touched on this in my closed beta review as well, but there are several quests in the game that send you back and forth between one location, where you go talk to an NPC, he's like, go kill this. You go kill it. Come back to the NPC. Alright, go right back there and kill this. You kill something else. Go right back to him. Alright, now bring me a shoe. So you have to go loot chests and bring him several shoes. This could be so much better for the player if, instead of having to run back and forth, the quest would just evolve or like progress by itself. Like, hey, you did that, now the quest changes. Some quests did this, which is cool, but it just seems like there's a disconnect in that, or maybe they were in the process of fixing it. But I would love to see more quests that have been shifted to progressing themselves instead of having to run back and forth and do errands. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you think I missed anything important or disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to talk with you about it. And of course, feedback is always appreciated. I'll be going over the patch notes that actually come out when the open beta starts, so feel free to subscribe if you want to see that, along with more New World content. I'll also be streaming the open beta at twitch.tv/albatrossop. I'll see you next time.